There are many debates on immigrant students and poverty as our neighbors cross into the border of the United States, but Garrett, Kilkenny, and Gomez 2007 give us insight as to how these changes influence students in both schools, cultures, identities, and home. Often students flow through America with challenges and opportunities faced by immigration, family backgrounds, cultural identity, stereotypes, multicultural education factors, poverty, and more. In the story of Mi Voz, Mi Vida, 15 Latino students attend college and tell their life stories in which they face difficulties in social-economic achievements but manage to rise above their challenges and gain opportunities. It is essential to understand that educators and parents control and eliminate some inequalities in conditions and inequalities of opportunities through the increasing development of positive socioeconomic status. Formal academic instruction is the vessel for socioeconomic development that enriches society. According to Garrett 2007, Latinos represent the largest of the minority groups in the United States, with 42 million individuals, or 14% of the population, and 1 out of 4 will be of Latino heritage. Latinos have become staples of American culture, left their mark on large cities, and have provided opportunities in American politics. These Latino authors grew up in the 1980s and, by the time they were young adults, began to understand what their forefathers fought for in the American system. Some authors were the first of their generation to attend college while concerned and fearful of fitting into other cultures. While feeling lonely and isolated, the students may be facing family strife at home. Structural forces took place with these individuals as they were portrayed by the media and the stereotype that took place around them. The authors shared their experiences in attending predominantly white institutions with these concerns and how they might be viewed by other students. Mi Voz, Mi Vida relates to course materials through the multicultural diversity of students, learning about ethnic identity and societal structure, examining race relations and prejudice, and analyzing social-economical achievement gaps in society. These authors share first-hand accounts of the challenges in growing up Latino through systems of racism, crisis, poverty, tragedy, and oppression. In Chapter 1, there are 3 authors that overcame challenges of the socio-economic achievement gap. The first author is Eric Martinez, who grew up in Southern California while overcoming his parents' neglect, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, physical abuse, and violent behaviors. Eric reports that being Latino created a duality of lives for him and created what he is today. Eric graduated from Dartmouth College and is an advisor for Fortune 500 companies. Joseph Rodriguez lived in Westmont, Illinois, and overcame the challenges of his father being jailed, his mother and siblings losing every wealthy possession they own, and his way of life being changed as a child, including being uprooted and attending a different school. Joseph graduated from Dartmouth College and majored in government with a concentration in international relations. Sarah Fox is Cuban, who discovered that she has an alcohol problem and has problems finding love. After several years of tolerating her alcoholism, Sarah finds love, works on her identity, and gets married. Sarah started attending meetings at the Latino student organization that helped her to discover her identity as a Latina. Today, Sarah has stopped drinking and is a wife and a mother. She has since relocated to her hometown where she is a teacher. In Chapter 2, labeled Biculturalism, these 4 authors have all learned to live and coincide between 2 cultures. For Jose Garcia, Jose tore himself apart between two cultures which were American and Latino, but finally came to terms with who he was, Latino, but embracing the American culture as well. Marissa Saldivar, Marissa knew she had to decide between Los Angeles and New York as well as her family, ultimately choosing New York to be with her new husband and child, Antonio. For Abiel Acosta, Abiel often changed between two cultures, Mexican and American, depending on what group he interacted. He honored his culture, but he did not like the stereotypes of others. And Miguel Rodriguez, Miguel had to come to terms with being gay and his own Latino culture concerning racism and stereotypes. For Chapter 3, Mentoring, these authors all had mothers that have been their mentors to help them succeed through tough times. Angelita Urena, her mother was very supportive of her attendance to the university and made many sacrifices to make sure Angelita was able to finish college and get her degree. The contrast to the situation was that her father put her in positions that affected her schoolwork, offered no support, and used her time and efforts for his own gain. Robert Cato, Robert's mother, emboldened him to continue through college with the goal in mind that he wanted to help other children. In contrast, Robert's father and relatives remained in jail. Before his father was jailed, he followed a long list of bad business deals that cost the family everything they had, thus adjusting to a new way of life. Viana Tercio, Viana's mother was very inspirational to her and kept Viana motivated. Her mother was in the welfare system until a few job changes occurred. Then finally, her mother settled on her last job. Viana's mother did whatever it took to support her family. In the last chapter called Identity, these 5 authors incorporate their Latino cultures with their identities. Alejo Alvarez. Although Alejo was Puerto Rican with 2 Puerto Rican parents, he knew little about his Latino heritage until he got into a more diverse atmosphere while attending high school. Alejo had help from friends, started speaking his native language, and incorporated his heritage. Antonio Rodriguez. Antonio was Cuban and Colombian who went to school with white middle-class students. While attending grade school, Antonio fit in with his fellow peers, but when he attended college, he became active in organizations to incorporate his Latino heritage. Norma Andre. Norma was Ecuadorian, and while moving to the United States, she kept her old traditions, but they adapted American traditions as well. Norma wove both cultures into her identity. Alessandro Melendez. Alessandro is Puerto Rican who was active in sports as well as church, but often tried to please others in what was not within his identity. As Alessandro became more aware of his identity, he tried to incorporate into his culture to blend in as a Latino American. David Rallos. David's father grew up in a poor Mexican social class while his mother was in a wealthy social class. While David was in school, he witnessed racism against his peers in his class but did not stop it from happening in fear of being an outcast. Once he attended the university, he began to stand up against racist remarks as he learned more about his culture and heritage. In this section, we will discuss what voices resonate with me, what challenges and opportunities these students faced, and what could and would I do to assist these students to be successful socially and academically. The voices that stood out to me were Eric Martinez and Viana Tercios. Until Eric was adopted, he did not have a positive role model in his life and had to endure physical abuse, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, as well as witnessing violent behavior. Furthermore, because of this behavior, his father left the home, causing Eric to take on many of the household duties, including taking care of his siblings and his mother. Eric knew very little about his culture and could not find individuals who could help him learn. Eric and his sisters were granted an opportunity for a better life by being adopted. And statistically, Eric followed the socioeconomic achievement gap, but rose above these challenges with better opportunities with a new family life to help support he and his endeavors. Vienna was another statistic for socioeconomic achievement gap. She lived in poverty with her mother in the welfare system. Later, her mother made some transitions through jobs to keep Vienna supported in her studies at the university. Poverty is a key dimension in the socioeconomic achievement gap, and besides her mother being a positive influence, Vienna had an opportunity to be accepted into the SEEDS program, which is a multidisciplinary intervention team composed of schools, community, and family representatives to ensure that children are ready for kindergarten, are promoted at the end of the school year, and are reading on level by the 3rd grade. To help Eric and Vienna socially and academically, I can teach skills for academic success, including organization and time management. I can embed tutorials in the learning process, build strong student-teacher relationships, create positive peer groups for students, develop academic mindsets and cultures, expect college eligible for all students, not just some, encourage stretch courses and provide real-time support dual enrollment for both college credit courses and high school, and promote college aspirations and focus on college completion. In order to make the connection with the socioeconomic achievement gap, Murphy 2010 and Reardon 2013 state that there are 3 key factors from which the gap stems. Number 1 is the socioeconomic gap involves the parents' occupational status. Number 2 is the education level of the parents. And number 3 is the income of the parents. The dimensions gives insight into the different educational levels that diverse students receive in the classroom, as well as high to low income students. Poor and diverse students are at a disadvantage if their parents do not have high-paying jobs, the parents are less educated, or the parents receive less income. Furthermore, family interaction and background have a strong role and influence for students in the classroom. Studies show that there are strong relationships between the conditions of these dimensions at home and lower levels of achievements for students in the classroom. Additional ways to close the socioeconomic gap would be for educators to improve their classroom skills as well as the quality of their preparation. To show that there is a critical role in teacher quality that increases students' performance. To stop putting teachers who have less experience, skills, or qualifications at schools with high proportion of students of color. To provide opportunities that would not generally be given in a highly segregated student population, to reform and work with family involvement, to heighten graduation rates due to family involvement, to proportionally enroll students in high school coursework such as advanced math to resolve disparities and provide opportunities to receive high-quality education. In conclusion, these writers reflect on the socioeconomic gaps related to the course through poverty, family backgrounds, and neglect, as well as their peers. Society will greatly benefit from reducing the socioeconomic gap to create knowledgeable students that gain better careers and education in order to integrate within the community. With teacher reforms, test reforms, resource reforms, job reforms, and family reforms, students can receive help from educators, families, and communities. Fortunately, these writers overcame their challenges and developed opportunities through social group, better jobs, increase in family support, and cultural meetings. Through understanding immigration, poverty, income factors, family resources, school factors, and make teacher reforms, educators can manage the classroom more effectively.